Welcome back to High Key Podcast.
I'm Zelenny.
I'm Cameron. We are having a conversation on the couch.
Yeah, we have a new logo. We posted our first episode, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, our first episode is live, so you can go check that out now.
It's been a tough week. It's been a really tough week, and I think that's why we're talking about the topic we are today. But we can get started with highlight and low light of our weeks, which I think will tie in nicely to our theme this week. It's just a lot of adult stuff going on. I don't want to say the word, but you know the word. Do you know the word I'm trying not to say because it's cringy now because we're
Adulting?
old? Yeah. Yeah, correct.
Nice.
Adulting. I'm conflicted about highlight and low light as a segment. Let us know your thoughts if anyone's watching. But
Yeah, well, so you're
just
conflicted.
my low light is a downer. It's really sad. And I just feel bad talking about it, but it's life. Starting with my low light, a little bit sad. One of my family cats passed away this past week, and he had UTI issues, which I'm very familiar with because our previous cat, Lena, she passed away from UTI issues, urine issues, and this cat, Simba, had some sicknesses around that, and it's more common in boy cats. He was also indoor-outdoor, so harder to monitor. They always say outdoor cats live much shorter lives than indoor cats, so it wasn't quite a surprise. He was probably around 10 or 11 years old, and it just is what it is. I mean, I think it's hard. It's sad because I wasn't there or involved in it, and now I have Gato, who was Simba's sister, basically. Only a couple months ago, Gato was, hanging out with Simba at my mom's house, but now he's not around anymore. Luckily, she's a cat and doesn't have to deal with the heartbreak of losing her brother of 10 years. But it was just a sad news to hear about Simba passing.
No, that's awful.
Yeah, it's fine. It's life, the circle of life. But yeah, rest in peace to Simba.
Simba, the circle of life.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, exactly. So that was sad to hear about.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
It's tough when you can't be there, and I feel bad that you didn't get a moment to reconcile it, or to have a final goodbye.
Yeah, for sure.
I grew up with a couple of cats, and the first one that I grew up with, his name was Dude. Got him when I was like 6 years old, and he was 6 months old, and he was with us all the way until I was, out of high school, and I think that he ended up passing like right when I moved here, no, that would have had to have been it. Would have had been my first year moving here to Austin, because I remember just like I didn't realize his health was deteriorating, and then I go back over to visit my mom, and I see Dude just like totally on his last leg, and it was really, really sad. Like, normally Dude was a very territorial and like wanting to bite and scratch anybody that tried to get close to him and touch him, but he was just so docile and like letting anybody pet him in this moment. Yeah, I got that goodbye, but it was still really hard, and it's tough. So I'm really sorry that that happened this week.
I'll do my highlight, I guess, and probably my highlight is that I took Friday off this week of work, and we were going to go hiking out to a park, and we got rained out, unfortunately, and weren't able to go, but just having that extra day off was so needed and so nice, and I was able to do like a bonus Love is Blind video that I'm working on now. I just needed that extra time, and it's honestly cruel that we don't have 3-day weekends every week. Like, it's made such a difference, the extra day. So I'm feeling so much better today, being Sunday. We're recording on Sunday, that it's like I get to finish out my weekend and feel like I had enough time.
Yeah,
like
for sure. And I mean, hopefully you'll be able to take off more Fridays or Mondays here and there.
It'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice. The way that it kind of worked out was because we, at my job, so I cover sports, and the football team that we cover was in their bye week, it's called. So they get one, maybe two
Is it
weekends.
BYE or BI?
BYE.
Okay.
It's like goodbye. Bye week. Goodbye.
I remember
We
always
out.
discussing that in high school.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
in high school sports
Yeah.
and whatever sports, you always have, it's always
In
called
professional
that.
sports,
Yeah,
it's called that.
it's always called that.
Yeah.
No matter what level, I guess.
Yeah. So it's the bye week, and
Thank goodness.
yeah. What's funny? So my company that I work for has this really cool thing called recharge days, and it's kind of a growing trend in corporations where they want to offer some additional time off paid for mental health.
That's
and
nice. Mine does not do that. It doesn't.
Take note. No. But yeah, so it was a really cool thing. They announced this at the beginning of the year and said that there would be a couple. So we already had one back in May around Memorial Day weekend, I think. And then there was this one that was actually for the company in early October, but we couldn't take advantage of it because we were too busy with our own work. But they pushed it back. They were like, okay, we'll find a date. So they tacked it onto the bye weekend. So it was actually really nice for me, where I all of a sudden had 3 days off.
Yeah, like,
which is unheard of.
I didn't know that's why you had Friday off. I thought you had Friday off just because there was no game.
No, it was a paid day off.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was not like part of my actual PTO.
Yeah, or your weekend.
Right.
Like your days off. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was great. I didn't get too much recharging. I mean, I kind of did, but it was still, I mean, that's what's been kind of an interesting part of my story these past couple of weeks is the days that I do have off, I still find myself working a lot, and I find myself still mentally engaged with my work in one way or another, which we'll get into here in a bit.
Yeah, you're feeling very creative these days too, though. So it's also like passion projects like this. It's like outside projects, and then your actual day job. So it's a lot of creativity going on.
Yeah, I've got a fire under me, and I'm trying to keep it lit, to be honest. We came back from vacation in late August, and there wasn't anything I wouldn't say like too miraculous about the vacation other than seeing some really amazing landscapes and scenery. But true. I mean, maybe that's really what it was. I've always been a nature person. Obviously, I wanted to go out with you, right, on Friday. We didn't get rained out.
We want to go after this.
We might go after this.
To do a little hike.
Yeah, we actually had a vlog about where
we're trying to go back to this place we vlogged on my channel way before it was like commentary on TV or anything. And we haven't been since. We only went that one time. And it was like where Cameron found a bunch of sushi trash on the trail in the vlog, and I stayed in the car and sketched the landscape. So hopefully you can see that.
You'll be down to hike a little bit more this time.
Yes, and I know why I didn't hike that day. I said it in the vlog, and it was because it was really hot. And I don't do that well in the heat, and I struggle with like getting out to hikes in the heat.
Well, today's high is 74.
Yeah,
and it's currently 74.
I'm actually very excited to do this hike.
And it's very shaded. So it'll be great. Lower than
It'll be great. I think it was just like summer or something. Like it was a hot day, and Texas gets really hot, so that's why I wasn't down.
Nice. Well, I'm excited. That'll be a good one. I actually did go out hiking it wasn't this past Wednesday, right? It was the week before.
Yeah.
I went out hiking by myself for a few hours, and it was its own thing. That's where I talked about my drone failing.
Yes, your drone.
But anyway, but when we went on vacation, we saw just like this beautiful mountains, these desert mountains.
So beautiful.
In between Nevada and California, and they were just so breathtaking and inspiring for me personally. And I think that's what it was. If there was anything to it, it was just realizing the beauty that I do have access to, that if I just take the time to arrange it and get myself out there, and something about knowing that now really motivated me to just want to do. That being said, there's a balance, and
you tend to be workaholic.
You've got a really good balance. I do tend to be workaholic, especially nowadays, and I'm just at a inflection point, sort of, in my own mental space about all that.
You know what an inflection point is?
Is it an engineering term?
It's a math term. It's a math term.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, mathematically speaking, I'm at an inflection point.
It's like a point on a graph.
Oh.
But honestly, you used it very correctly. That's why I was like shocked. But like not in a shady way. I just sound shady.
They use that term in like news and sports too, to indicate like the team's in an inflection point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, wow. I thought it was more common.
I'd never heard it in like another context.
Oh, that's funny.
Outside of math. That's why I was
never
like,
heard it in
what?
a math context. So, but no, I'm trying to figure out what that balance is for me. Like, you do such a great job, I think, of putting in the bursts, putting in the work, and then taking some hours to relax.
I'm very good at relaxing. I've never had a problem with workaholic. Like, no.
But you've also you get the work done.
Well, yeah.
And that's not me. I have procrastinator tendencies just from my behavior in general.
I know what it boils down to.
And I avoid stuff.
It boils down to perfectionism, and I think that's just something each person is born with. Like, you either have it or you don't. And I don't have any ounce of perfectionism in my body. I'm very much if it's good enough, it's good enough, and move on. And Cameron is much more of a perfectionist, and it shows.
No, I am perfect.
Like, it definitely shows in our work. Like, my work that I put out can be sloppy. But I'm very prolific. I put out a lot of things, and Cameron puts out like very polished, beautiful work that takes a lot, of attention to detail
and time.
And he doesn't post or put out things as often. So it's two different. I mean, everyone has their own philosophies on it, but I think
there's a balance. I think there's a way to get both, and I'm definitely working toward that goal myself. Because I'm not gonna. There's a part of me that just can't let go of my like standard of excellence or whatever you want to call it, or all that. But I'm also very cognizant of, okay, I've just spent 30 minutes picking apart a transition of something or whatever it is, and that's not efficient. And when I've got my life to live and I want to do all these other things, I've got people and relationships that rely on me. I got to get done, get going. So I'm working on it. I'm real grateful for you to be there to help me dial it in, and you say you check off on it, like it's good, it's go, let's print. So I'm working on it. But yeah, I definitely have like this workaholic tendency right now, and it's good thing and bad thing. I think it's really good for me to just be productive and not being like avoiding tasks and avoiding my creativity. I've really just kind of dived into it, and any moment I'm trying to think about what is the next project I should be working on, but we go out and it's hard for me to be there and present when all I can think about is what I need to get home to edit and work on. So I'm working on it. It's definitely a work in progress, and I realize it's something I got to get under control. I think it's just part of growing up. All that being said,
highlight and
my highlight and low light is related to something I mentioned before as one of my highlights, which was getting an interview. So I got an interview for a job that I applied for that is out of state. And I have since had a round 2 interview. And the round 2 interviews went really, really well. I enjoyed meeting everybody on the team. Everybody was just so phenomenal. I got a virtual tour of the facility, and it just seemed so great. It really did seem cool, and just where I want to be really right now in my career and in my growth. And in terms of a team that I want to work with. I got the question of what's your availability, and I had to start really taking this seriously, which I mean, I shouldn't have ever, I guess, doubted my abilities and talents, but I just wasn't expecting it to go so fast, so well.
Yeah, it's a career pivot. So, and it's your first time trying this career pivot, and
which I plan to do hopefully at some point.
Yeah.
But maybe this is not the point. This is not the inflection point.
But this is the first interview you had doing this career pivot, and you had no idea how it would go in an interview type of process since it's a new career.
Yeah.
It's related to what you're doing, but it's a little bit different, and you didn't know how you stacked up basically in the competition and with the competition.
Yeah.
In that type of field.
Exactly.
And then it turned out you stack up a lot better.
I guess I rose to the top of the crop.
Exactly.
I did not expect it.
And I think it's part of that, perfectionism and polish that you have with your work, and it shows, and you're also very professional. So you interview well, and you just made it very far to the point where it's actually a real conversation about, is this happening or not, and what are the pros and cons. And it's been like a constant weighing of pros and cons this past week. I mean, it affects me too, so it's been a lot of talking about very serious things and long-term plans and strategizing, and it's been very stressful, very difficult, and yeah,
it's been really hard. It's a blessing, right, and a burden.
Yeah.
I have a little fortune cookie that's on top of the video switcher at work, and the fortune cookie paper says every burden is a blessing. And I mean,
I don't know if I agree with that, but
I know.
I think the other way around works too, though. Every blessing is a burden in some ways.
Yeah, and
all magic comes with a price. My favorite quote from Rumpelstiltskin in Once Upon a Time.
Wait, say it again?
All magic comes with a price.
Yes. He's such a good actor. I love.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I guess I stack up really well, and it gives me a lot of confidence in.
I hope it does.
Where I'm going moving forward.
I really hope it does.
And it showed me my value, I think. All right, it really showed me my worth, and I'm gonna take that to the bank, right? And I'm gonna take that to my soul.
Yeah.
Of realizing I've got it.
I hope you do, because I think when you started applying, I expected this a lot more than you did.
Yeah.
Because I see your work, and I'm very objective, I feel like, and I can tell that you're just a very valuable asset to any company, and I think they can recognize that. So, like, I hope you're convinced now that, like, in the future you can find great opportunities and you will move your career forward.
Man, thank you so much. And I mean, it's such a delicate line. Anybody who's an artist, I think, knows this, and it's really been hard for me. I mean, this was the type of position that would put me more in the creative arts, and really allow me to exercise my artistry. So it meant a lot. And again, it's a field I want to pivot into. But yeah, it's sobered me up in the sense that I now have to grow up to know how to gracefully and respectfully communicate. I have to reject it, and I'm not in a place to take it at this time. Largely in part because it's like economic factors, which we don't have to get into too much details about, but basically things are just going really well here where we're at, and we love that. We really like that. As much as inside of me, I would love to move out of state. I mean, this is not just moving next door. This is moving across the country.
Across the country, literally. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, granted, I do have a family member that I love who is there, and that's awesome. But it's just probably not the best timing for that when I've got a really great arrangement where I'm at currently. Like, if I didn't have a job right now, it'd be a different story.
Of course. And a lot of things would change the story.
But I'm currently gainfully employed, really happy about that.
Just weighing it all out financially, it makes more sense to stay here for a couple years. And we're strongly considering and probably planning on, in 2 years, moving out of state, likely to follow the next opportunity. And hopefully by then we have more savings and we are in a better position to maybe buy a house. Yeah. So it's a lot of thinking about that and
that's
long-term
the big thing.
goals.
And we're renters, right?
Yes.
The space here that High Key Podcast is coming to you in is on a lease. And, you know, this is our studio. But, we don't want to be in that boat for the long term. And it's just really hard, though.
It's
and
just
I think
hard
like
with
anybody,
how expensive rents are everywhere.
Like everybody watching, I'm sure, understands this to a degree.
Yeah.
Like being a young person, middle-aged person. I mean, are we middle-aged?
No, we're not young. Middle-aged.
Okay, I don't know. What does middle-aged mean?
It's like 40s.
Oh, okay, we're not that.
40s or 50s.
I mean, I hear it knocking sooner than later. But
yeah, we're not that far. But
I need to be more present in the moment.
Yeah.
So all that to be said, though, like we want to own at some point, but man, rents are just so wild, and I don't understand how it's hard even for my job to like keep up wage wise with the way prices are just
we have very
climbing.
Good jobs and everything, and even then we have to like really consider rent price and be careful about it, and to even have savings like accruing.
Yeah.
Even though we have good jobs, like we're not.
Right. I mean, I paid. I haven't lived by myself in a long time. Now I did live by myself for about 3 years in Houston.
How much were you paying?
Oh yeah. So my first apartment, which was a 1-bedroom apartment, $600. $600 a month.
And that was like in. Was it in Montrose?
Yeah.
In Montrose.
That was in Montrose.
So if you don't know Houston, that's like the coolest neighborhood in Houston. And
it was like Montrose almost to Upper Kirby. And I mean, that's highfalutin, nice areas. And
yeah, that's like walkable, everything.
Yeah. I biked to work and it was like a 5-minute bike ride. It was a life.
Yeah.
And
nowadays that's unheard of.
Yeah. I moved to an efficiency after that, after the first year, but that efficiency still in Montrose, mind you, $500, all bills paid.
Oh my
God.
God.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the best moments of my life. And then from there, I moved to a condo that was almost like double the size of this, basically, with roommates though. And again, for my room, it was never over 500, and by the end I was paying like 350. Like it was just so the point is that I've never been really in a space where I had to pay more than $500-$600 a month. And I mean, where we're at right now, we're paying just a little bit more than that, but I thought that was normal. And then I'm looking at what it would be the cost for me to go out there by myself or go out there and find a place with just you. Even in our neighborhood here, it's unheard of. Yeah. And we're so grateful for just the arrangement that we happen to be in right now. And it just makes the most sense to maximize the potential for us to get into an ownership position for us to stay here.
So if we stay, we're more likely to be able to buy a home sooner.
Yes.
And every year prices get higher, so like the sooner we can do it, the sooner, it just that's
so I'm 31 years old, and the aunt that lives in the state that I was considering taking this job in, she gave me she always has given me great advice throughout my life. And one of the big pieces of advice that she gave me a few years ago was to buy a house by the time I'm 35.
Oh.
And so I'm 31. I've got 4 more years to get that goal. And the reason being was because, I mean, she's almost to retirement age herself now, but she's renting. And it isn't out of the fact that she just never could have a house. It just didn't ever like pan out with how her life went. So she has a great rental like scenario right now, but even then she's scared because what happens when she retires
they decide not to renew, or they sell the house.
Social Security stops.
Yeah.
Just like all these things. So where she was coming from was a place of don't get in, my shoes where you become my age and you don't have any property that's ready for you and paid off when you retire.
I see.
And so
I mean,
she's
that's very
like,
true.
you get a 30-year loan when you're 35, retire when you're 65, your house is paid off, and anything that you're getting at that point is just
extra.
all going into
other expenses.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, health.
But I mean, knock on wood, right? But you gotta own the wood.
Yeah. So whatever.
No, I know. But
so whatever it takes to get home ownership as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Realistically, in this economy, that is very difficult.
Yeah. And I mean, there's probably other, states or places that are maybe more affordable. We just happen to live in one of the less affordable cities. I mean, it's like affordable cost of living, but minus the housing.
Yeah, the housing.
It's like the housing is by far more than the national average.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was your highlight and low light. Basically,
that was my highlight of low light. The highlight is basically getting an offer, and then the low light is rejecting the offer or having to let them know that I'd like to keep in touch down the line.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for making the connections that I did along the way and interviewing with everybody. And I got to meet some really, good people that are in the chain of creative services at this company.
And I think that office could be a great option down the line. That's an area maybe we could afford home ownership as opposed to somewhere like LA or Seattle or places like that are higher cost than where we're at. So, I mean, that office might still be a good option in a couple years.
Yeah, I hope so too. I don't want to close the door entirely.
Yeah.
I'm going to make that very clear. I think I already have made that clear.
Mm-hmm. That leads us into our topic of today's episode, which we've already talked a lot about, and that's just aging and growing up, being old, and having to think about these things, like not just taking a cool job just for the adventure and not thinking about years down the line, like goals. And it's tough, but
there's a lot of calculations to make, and I think that's what I guess I wasn't expecting when I was younger and in school growing up. And
it's scary. It's a lot of like risk assessment.
Yes.
Like there's a risk this will happen here, or this will happen, or that could happen. It's so every little thing could happen.
I mean, the reality is that if I stay here in Austin, I'm gainfully employed for 2 years maximum, and then I 100% will be without a job at this company, and it'll be upon me to find employment here or out of state. And so that's the reality, and that's why that was a huge plus about moving, was there was more job security.
Yeah.
So these kind of calculations are very new to me, and I mean, it's good to have, and like my car, right? Like, I've been paying off this car for the past 5 years, and it's going to be finally paid off this coming March. So, I mean, I've only got a few months left on that. And then once it's paid off, that's one of my last recurring expenses, besides the rent.
But then if we move, we probably need a new one.
Yeah.
Or whenever we move, which isn't that far out, we'll need a new car and new payments and new insurance. And do you remember the movie Look Both Ways we watched?
Yes.
That's a very... I wish I could do that, or I could see that for my life.
It's very true.
These types of decisions.
It's so true.
Because it's hard. And I really liked that movie because the moral at the end was that she was okay. Well, sorry. Spoilers for the movie. General spoilers. She was all okay in the end in both timelines. And that's the lesson. That, no matter the decision, you will survive. You'll survive this far. You've gone through things, and you'll be okay.
Well, I love that. It's a good reminder for me.
It
right
is.
Now. I mean, that rings very true for my thought process in all of this, and I've had to remind myself that both options are viable, good options, and it's going to be both. It's going to be good no matter what I choose to do. I just have to choose what to do. Yeah. And that is hard. That's the hardest for somebody like me who's so indecisive.
You are very indecisive.
And I just didn't expect. Again, it's one of those things where like when the current position I'm in, I mean, I'd sent out like 30, 40 applications before hearing back for this one. And then this one was originally a rejection, and then they contacted me 3 months later. Right. So it's like I'm used to that, not used to sending out one, but you're just 2 weeks later, when can I fly up?
You're just in a very different place in your career, though. You have a lot of these years that mean a lot, and this experience that means a lot. You got a lot of experience fast because you are in like a small team where you were able to step up and had to step up.
I got to put my hands on a lot of different things, and
you take a lot of initiative, so you're the perfect employee. Like, I'm telling you, the people that interview you can smell a mile away that you're a workaholic because your passion is just very much there.
I care, and I care too much. And I had this thought earlier this morning. I went out to a dance this morning, and I was in my head a lot. And I was thinking about how, okay, I don't need to care about what other people like think of how I look, right, or what they're looking at about me. But then it's like I also do want to care because it's like, what if this and that? And it's like, how can I both have passion for something and then also be fine with it, like being whatever the outcome is the outcome, right? And I think it was you, I can't remember if it was you who gave me the advice that was like, don't marry the outcome, or don't.
That doesn't sound like me.
I don't know.
But I agree.
In terms of just like creating and being an artist, it's don't be attached to the outcome. Like,
interesting.
Just do the work, get it out there and get it done, and then move on. Like, it's there, it's done. People will do with it as they will.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can't get caught up in the outcome of whatever these choices are that I'm making in my life. I just got to keep moving. And so, but they understand that in terms of this job decision thing I got to do. And I think they'll understand where I'm coming from with it.
Yeah.
But man, it's just hard to like grow up and realize that, well, like for me with like, I just doubted my abilities for so long. I doubted my like value. And for so long, I felt like I was just going to be scraping by because I was scraping by for so long. And there was definitely the honeymoon period where I was totally fine with scraping by. It was a life, and I loved it, and I made the best of it. And then I wasn't satisfied with it, so I like pivoted and changed, and now I am in that changed form and person. And all of what's been happening these past couple of weeks has shown me like I've become a professional. I've become an adult, and there's now new responsibilities, new discipline, new mindset that comes with that transition and changing and evolving into that. So it's all very fresh for me. That's part of my growing up right now. But I'm sure this is this is an oversung tune.
Yeah. Well, do you want to talk about more broadly, like those mindset changes, like starting with partying and how you feel about that? Oh,
that's actually a good point. Oh, thank you for reminding me of that. Do you want to mention anything about that?
Well, yeah. So the reason we were talking about this a little earlier this morning about how we went out last night because
it's Halloween.
Although we already filmed a Halloween episode, this weekend is still Halloween. Last night was like the night to celebrate because it was Saturday night before Halloween, and we went out. We had a lot of fun. We went out to dinner with a friend in town, or some friends in town, and then we went out to a drag show, and it was just kind of like club bar vibes, and just party. And I have been lately, as I've gotten older, I think wanting those experiences a little more because in my 20s, or I'm still in my 20s, I'm 28, in most of my 20s, or teens and 20s, I never partied. And that's fine. And now I am craving a little more going out, but not a lot. Probably as much as the average person my age wants. I'm not trying to party every weekend, just occasionally going to see things. And I'm just kind of craving the inspiration of being out and seeing things, because a lot of my life I haven't. And the reason, though, there's a reason why this change in me has happened, and it is because I work 100% remote. And my entire life, school and work in person, completely drained my energy to zero. And I never would have wanted to go out. And in college, I never went out. I did not want to. I mean, here and there, I guess I did, but I didn't want to. And now I'm have that kind of energy to put it in there. So it's not necessarily an aging thing. I think this is something that comes out of knowing myself better and knowing that working in person drains me to zero, and I want to work remote, and that has made a positive impact and allowed me to actually enjoy experiences that people enjoy.
That's awesome. And I'm just like really glad that you've been able to get that set up for yourself. It's like optimizing your lifestyle so that your social life, private life, and professional life can have better balance.
Yeah, they're both doing well. And like, I don't think either, like, my professional life doesn't suffer from being remote. Just put it that way.
If this position that I applied for was remote, I would take it in a heartbeat. Not for the same reasons, just for location-wise.
For logistics reasons, yeah.
But that's so cool to hear, and I'm really happy for you in that.
But you've had kind of an opposite experience, but it's because you had a very different life.
So we have flip-flopped, right?
Yeah, flip-flopped. But I think now we're at a similar desire. I think we've met in the middle, I feel like, because I wanted zero going out, you wanted a ton of all going out, and now we want like sometimes.
Yeah,
occasionally.
I'm having a hard time with this. So like, I think most people who know me know me for going out, know me for going out and doing a lot and partying, I guess.
Life of the party.
Being very energetic. And so when I moved to Austin, like, I had that energy about me a little bit when I first couple of years, but then I kind of settled down when I met you, and I got a little more focused in on my education and developing myself and emotionally developing myself. Even though I would go out and be social, I would still have tons of social issues, and they still exist today. Whether it's cutting people off when they're talking, tuning out every other word, the list goes on. And while I still am working on those things, at least I really enjoyed, like, I craved going out and being social. But man, like, now it's hard. Like, it's hard to know what the cause of it is, but we've been out the past, a couple of times these past few days. And, I also had this like company outing last week, and at all of these functions, unless it was a one-on-one conversation with somebody where, I light up. I love.
I agree with you a lot on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the only way I can give somebody the attention that they deserve.
Yeah.
That, in my opinion, it's like and it's also for me probably hard for me to really focus if it's more than one person in a dynamic, in a group dynamic. And so whenever I'm really in a group these days, I tend to be just very quiet. I tend to observe and just wait for when there's an opportune moment to make a comment, or I really feel like I have something to say. But most group dynamics are kind of beyond me. They're beyond where I socially feel like I'm at. And I just, I tend to just want to like observe, let the group be the group. And I don't know. It's just interesting. I'm trying to figure it out because I don't think it's totally healthy. I think there is room for me to get more comfortable just going through the motions of being in groups. But I feel very closed off right now in groups, and I need to work on that. But when I'm one-on-one with somebody, like, that's where I thrive, and that's where I want to be. it's like this mindset of like, if this isn't a one-on-one thing, then why are we doing it?
I agree so much with this, and I'm kind of surprised like this is what's coming up, but because I've been having this revelation a lot. This year has been my year of like thinking about friendship and what it means to me a lot. And I have a friend group in the city, from college and whatnot, and I just always wish I could spend the time that we spend in a group all the time just one-on-one with any one of them. Because I feel like with these group hangouts, there just isn't much new, like,
ground
intimacy
being covered.
Yeah, new ground being covered, new intimacy form, new connection being built. Because it is so hard with so many people, and these are kind of big group type of hangouts. It's very difficult to like get deeper with someone or talk about like what's going on in their life that's hard or interesting or challenging. And that's what I'm craving, and I want to know about my friends. It's like, what's your highlight and low light of the week? What are you struggling with? What's your long-term things that you're facing and decisions you're making? Like, and at these group hangouts, it becomes like, well, let's play a game and let's talk about old stories or just drink or eat or whatever. And the focus is not on those kinds of conversations. So I've come to that conclusion that I really, really just like one-on-one. I've been trying here and there to like a little bit try to like call a friend and just talk to them for an hour one-on-one, and I've really liked those things, but I feel like I'm imposing because I feel like the group hangouts are more of like a convenience thing. And I've realized that a lot too, that I feel like friendships have become a lot about convenience, and I don't really blame people. I don't know, it's hard to schedule things, and it feels like people just want to get as many people out of the way seeing them, instead of seeking out one-on-one connections.
Yeah, and investing in one person's true growth, investing in one person's true how they're navigating this thing called life, like we do.
It's more like show up to the group hang and I saw everybody, said hi to everyone.
So it's
hard,
and there's nothing against that, right?
No.
Like, I enjoy being in those spaces. They just are their own dynamic that, for me, where I'm at right now, it's just more difficult for me. It's weird, actually. It's like more difficult for me to open up that way than it is to be direct and, I would say, like, vulnerable. Right? Like, I'm craving this like shared one-on-one vulnerability.
Me too.
And I almost feel like I can't open up that way.
Well, because it's weird and awkward.
and even though like maybe I feel like the majority of people would be open to it, even if there's just like one unknown person in this group setting that I don't know, that will be enough for me to
close off.
To not let it out, right? Because it's like I don't want that to throw off that person that I don't know.
But it's hard too. It's like you don't want to ruin the mood either. If it's like a party mood, it's like you don't want to talk about your sad, my family cat passed away.
Right. Exactly.
That, things like that.
I mean, the big thing,
hard.
like when I went out to this work function, everybody it was at Topgolf, and everybody was having a lot of fun, drinking, shooting the golf, and just joking around about all this. In the back of my mind the whole time is, I know I've got this big decision about this job where I might legitimately be leaving this team of people in a few weeks, and it just made it so difficult in that moment. And also, though, I'm trying to be respectful, and I don't want to. I didn't really want to bring it up because then everybody in the office starts talking about it.
Becomes
this
gossip.
Big rumor. And so literally I was just like quiet and pretty awkward like the whole time until the last conversation I had, where I had a card for one of my coworkers who had did me a favor earlier in the year, and I wanted to hand it to him. And when I did, it was a invitation to talk more one-on-one, and that was like the best conversation I had probably the whole time I was there. And it was just like 5 minutes long, but I literally got to learn so much about him in that time. I got to learn where he was from, where he went to college, that he has children, and all this, and what he values, right?
Yeah.
I told him about how I've got this dilemma, and that's what's bothering me today. And then he said, oh man, like, you know, you got to go for it. If it was me though, like, I value family more than anything. So I'm looking for something that I can stay local with, and that kind of thing. So it was really just great to connect with him on that level. And it's like, maybe I love it so much because I know from experience that that's what I remember in the long term.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't remember, you know,
I don't remember. I have a hard time remembering what happened at what party, you know.
You don't remember who won Mario Kart.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Who blackout, passed out, or whatever.
I mean, you remember that.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, yeah, and nothing beats one-on-one connections. And now what I'm trying to work on is figuring out how do I appropriately like ask for that and make it happen, because other people aren't really making it.
Yeah,
or
you
maybe
gotta find the people that want that.
Yeah.
And I feel lucky that I have found that in a couple of my great friends, and they're the ones that I stick around with. But they're also very good in group settings too. So
it's hard. Some people are just naturals at it, and we're a little awkward. We're a little different.
Yeah.
And my awkwardness is very hard to navigate in a group setting, for sure.
That's been one of the hard things about growing up for me, for sure, is really
social life.
Yeah. It's just so weird because I feel like it wasn't always like that for me. I mean, I used to just, you know, blow up a room when I went into it, and it was just hopping from one little moment to the next and super bright. But now I'm kind of more in the shadows, I feel like, when I'm going out. And when we were out at this drag show last night, there was just so much of this mindset of like, what are we doing here? And I mean, part of it though is like, I hated waiting around for forever.
Well, because drag shows always start late, and that's another thing that's not friendly to old people like us that want to go home and go to bed.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, maybe we should try a drag brunch.
I think so. Like, I think that there's a market out there for afternoon dragging.
There is.
There's a void. Events. There's a void in the market.
No, there's not a void. There's a lot of drag brunches. That's drag brunch.
Oh, okay.
I view events like that and nights out like that as like kind of more novelty. Yeah, for sure.
And I enjoyed the company we were with, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, that was the good part about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, hopefully you enjoyed the time where we sat at the table.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay.
We for a lot of it, we did sit further away from the action and just chatted.
I tried to be strategic about it because at this venue, there's a lot of different spaces to find. You could either go stand and dance next to the DJ, or you could go to the back and be away from that action, but have more privacy and be able to hear each other talk.
You're still in the energy though. Like you people watch all the costumes. It was the funnest night to people watch because you had every kind of,
and they were
costume.
serving, right?
They were. They were. And we would see the drag queens that were going to perform also walking around where we were sitting. So like it was really fun to people watch. There's a lot of cool costumes. Yeah. I'm trying to think. There were some Dolly Partons. There were some mushrooms. There was some Adventure Time. There was like a whole Adventure Time group.
Yeah. There was an Elton John.
Elton John.
Glittered Elton John.
Yeah. The baseball outfit.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I had fun people watching, but I understand also because I view going out as a big energy drain, and like I'm prepped for that. I'm very like. So, and on the way, I'm like, oh, here we go.
It's such a weird new thing for me because for most of my life, I never even had a like inkling in my body and mind about the like effort, about the energy it would take to go out.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. It's so crazy because I feel it so strongly now, but I didn't feel it back then at all.
It's
I was
like I was contagious on you.
Yeah, you kind of were. But it is weird that like that my norm, my just MO was I have to go out, so this is what I do. Like I social capital, whatever, I don't know, but like I'm just up here trying to invest in my reputation or something, like, and just have good experiences meeting. So it was like a thing that it went out and it was no problem. But now it just takes so much effort. I mean, maybe part of it too was, well, no, that's not a fair argument, because getting on a bicycle is a lot of effort.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Like, that's a lot of physical effort, but still, even then, like, it was like accessible. It was like I had all this exciting energy where I was excited for the bicycle journey to get to wherever I was going. My bicycle was right there next to my bed or whatever, and I could just plop it out of the door and go. So there was something really energetic and exciting about all of that. It's like there's a journey ahead. But now it's like, got to dress up, make sure I have everything, and get into the car, and my car has gas, and my car can run, and then don't leave any valuables in the car. All these little things just to
find parking, which is
that's stressful. I never had to deal with that.
Yeah, as a bicyclist, I'm always stressed about the parking. Every time, anytime anyone mentions any meetup event, anything, I'm like, the parking. I'm terrified of the parking. And a lot of times I'll decide to take Uber and Lyft.
It's stressful, and I mean, we dealt with it. Yeah. I mean, I had to drop them off at the restaurant and then meet up with them 10 minutes later to go park around the block. It was so crowded, and same deal with the club, and had issues with the parking meter, wasted time there. Yeah. And whereas I got super spoiled on the bike, and I would literally pull up to the front door of places and be like, "What's up, everybody?"
We've definitely changed our attitudes on going out. I think a lot of my friends are shocked that I go out now.
I'm so proud of you that you're wanting to just like vary up your and having like trust in the world. I think going out
a little bit. I mean, I don't, but but also like I'm more excited about getting inspired, and just like as a creative person, I feel like I just need that. A little bit of seeing things and not just seeing these four walls. But it was all about the working from home and being home most of the time that allows me to have that energy. So that's the only reason. Girl, I forgot to talk about how we watched the old High Key episodes. We finally actually reviewed some of the High Key content from the past because we hadn't in years at this point.
And we're about to delete it.
No, we're not about to delete it, but it's so funny because Cameron is like mean to me.
I'm so sorry.
He's so mad.
This time not to you. I'm sorry to them. I'm sorry to anybody watching that, and based on the views, I don't think no one. But let's just keep it that way. But yeah, God, I just feel so bad. I was like so judgy and like cynical.
Sassy.
I was sassy.
Sassing me. Or anything. You would like shut me down with things.
I guess I thought that was the vibe. I thought that was the shtick.
I didn't remember that, so it's not like a trauma for me or anything. Like I don't remember being in that moment.
It makes me wonder, like, was that just my how I was?
I don't think so.
In the relationship?
I think the issue is that with podcast, I always would force Cameron to set up, and it was a very elaborate setup, and like it would take all this finagling with lights, and it was before we were that aware of your perfectionism and had learned these lessons about things just being good enough and being scrappy, and you were still very committed to the best possible look we could make with our equipment, and so you would take like an hour or two to set up all of the equipment, the technology, and by the end you would be all pissed off because you didn't even want to podcast in the first place, and you were just mad starting a conversation. Of course you're gonna be sassing me, so it was because you didn't want to podcast.
Well, now I want to, and
yeah, it
now,
shows.
Good. I'm glad. I hope so. Yeah, so goes into all the other things about effort we were talking about.
Yeah. But we did review our old stuff, and it was interesting.
And
we were so young. Watching though the episode that was right at literally the days before the pandemic, it just feels like we've aged like 10 years since then. It's like we're fresh faced. I was like complaining about like Kim Petras' album or something. I don't know what I was complaining about, but it was just such petty little complaints, and I was just like, oh girl, you have no idea what's about to happen. So I mean, the pandemic, I think, gave us a lot of extra maturity. That's something.
I mean, the mature
like it made everyone grow up fast. At whatever stage they were at, it feels like they had to. We all had to grow up like from like to the next level of where we were at.
Definitely. And what I'd say about the pandemic for me was it allowed me time to work out myself. It allowed me time to explore what I wish could be better about myself and identify my weaknesses that otherwise would probably just go uncovered because of how fast life moves.
Yeah.
And that's honestly what I think. It's like it allowed me that space and time to be like, well, there's nothing else to do in the world, so I'm just going to think about myself and really analyze and assess my weaknesses, and hopefully I've come out a little bit better. I hope that y'all like the new branding that we collaborated on.
We did collaborate.
Yeah.
And I was there over camera's shoulder telling him it's good enough, export it. It's
good
enough, export it. It's good enough, export it.
I did a lot of the execution, most of the execution.
He did. You did all of it. You did the designing. I was just there to like basically rein in your perfectionism.
Yeah, definitely.
That was my job.
And the music theme was a lot of fun to remake as well.
Cameron made original music. He's a very talented musician as well.
Yeah.
And it was gorgeous.
I know a little bit, and my piano lessons definitely helped, but I wanted to still like try to stay true to what the original theme was, but refine it. I'm trying to be real about it, trying to take it seriously, and hope that y'all enjoy the ride with us. So for many more high key podcasts to come.
No more forcing Cameron at gunpoint.
Fun point. Inflection point.
Girl.
Well, yeah, so it's been really good talking with you about all of this. And I realize it's a lot, but
it is.
We're growing up.
Yeah, and I kind of had wanted to talk about in this episode or touch on just also aging, like body wise. Like there's a lot to aging, so maybe we could do a whole episode on more like body image or something.
That would be great.
Because that is a whole thing too, a whole interesting
topic. And I've got a lot of other stories to talk to about that.
Yeah.
That would be very specific.
Same for me. I mean, women have beauty standards. Men even have beauty standards too. So like, it's probably a whole episode. But
it is. Yeah.
The aging conversation isn't over. But this is kind of more like about professional and social kind of aspects of growing up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're just in a transition.
Yeah.
I'm definitely in a transition. I mean, I've been feeling in this transition for a couple of years, like more physically, I guess. But everything's just kind of coming to a head now in my life where it's like, okay, now I got to get real and understand that like new avenues of possibilities are opening up for me.
Yeah, there are nice things. I kind of want to end on a little bit of positivity. There's good things about feeling this way or having the years behind us that we have, because like it feels really nice to be like have several years of professional experience going, instead of when you're out of college and you have to pad your resume with nonsense and you have to have experience to get experience, this whole thing. And now you can think more like, well, what do I want to do next, instead of what do I have to do to survive?
That's a freedom.
Yeah.
Like this is a really great point. I mean, God, we could make a whole nother episode about education.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Like that's definitely what enabled all of this to go the direction it has for me, and I've been really deep in those thoughts lately. Is like, wow, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I went from waiting tables, not knowing what I wanted to do other than the fact that I just loved art, and then going to school, still not knowing what the hell I'm doing there, and then every little piece that's built itself along the way that put me into the position I'm in now to know, okay, this is something I'm not only really good at, but I love doing it.
Yeah.
And now I don't have to fight for just finding something to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
I now am able to fight for what I want and go to that fight and be not settle for anything less than that. So it's freedom, and it's very empowering. A lot of cost, obviously, big price went into it. But I'm just grateful to be on the other end of it. Like, my goal for myself was to just have my bachelor's degree by the time I was 30. And here I am at 31 now, feeling like the world is out there for me.
I just like the confidence that comes with aging. I just feel more like sure of myself. I'm more self-aware about why I am the way that I am, and how to compensate for like my flaws. It's a lot of growing still to do, but also I've grown a lot, and I just like the confidence that I've developed over my later 20s.
I'm so glad. I'm glad for you, big time. And your confidence has rubbed off on me. I mean, that's a big part of why I'm back here on High Key Podcast with you, because you had the confidence to turn your craft and interests into your own YouTube channel, and I mean that's just, I've seen it work for you over each episode that you make. You just get a little bit better, and you have a lot more just confidence of just knowing what you're doing with it. And that's been so inspiring for me to want to lean on that energy, being in the space with you, being in the creative space with you. That, I mean, that's the thing, like you really are so creative, and you just make it, you get it done, and you're okay with it being in whatever form. Like, just the fact that you made it, you went through the motion of it. And that's a big part of me. It's like, mentally I get hung up so much on nobody's gonna like it and everybody's gonna judge me, or whatever it is. And so seeing you, being around you like that, has really helped me to just get into the mode of making, and I've found it's bringing me a lot of confidence along the way too. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
I have a long road of confidence ahead of me, though.
Well, I do too. I'm not confident at everything. I just mean, like, compared to how I was before in a lot of aspects, I just feel a lot more just sure of myself, and I know myself well, and I love that part.
This has been so much fun, and I guess until next time, you'll
be hearing from us.